Oh, thank you.
So we've got just a few action items here tonight for the CDC meeting, Suzie, if you're with us.
I am.
Okay. The first item is,
I had to clear something with Ron first.
yes, let's try and take care of that information before.
Blame it on Ron.
So first thing on the agenda is street ID replacement. Monsieur John Belger.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Last year we started a street ID sign replacement program as part of our public works program. Last year we completed from 55th Street to the North City limits. Over the past few years, street signs have kind of been the #1 most citizen requested thing when you pick up the phone saying that, you know, the street signs are faded, we can't read them, we don't know where we're at. We replaced the ones last year and got a lot of compliments on that. So what we're doing this year is continuing that. We're basically going to replace the street ID signs between 55th Street and Martway. We were originally going to go just to Johnson Drive, but because a lot of those signs along Johnson Drive and Martway got replaced with those two capital projects, we're going to extend it on down to Martway. We had originally planned this out over 4 years. But if it works out next year that we can go ahead and wrap it up because there's fewer street ID signs on the south side of town, then we'll go ahead and do that. But we're going to go ahead and stick with our 4-year plan, but this would be the second year of our 4-year plan. Basically, get those signs up to date with size and reflectivity standards.
All right, anybody got any questions for John?
I think it's good. I really don't want to go ahead.
We'll get them all.
Any
Yes.
any recommendations on this?
I'd recommend we take it to the council and on the consent agenda.
I think that's an excellent recommendation.
Second.
Looks like that. Done deal, John. Excellent. Let's see what else we got here. Well, replacement of the hydraulic lift, and this time we're going to defer to John Belcher.
Yeah, I'll stick around for this one too. Currently, our hydraulic lift down at the Public Works shop is a 12,000-pound lift. What we discovered with some of these newer trucks is with the added emission system, central hydraulics, things of that nature, those vehicles are starting to push the limits of that 12,000-pound lift. What we are proposing is to declare our current lift surplus and sell it and replace it with a 15,000-pound lift. The biggest concern with the pushing of the weight capacity is it's a safety concern, and a lot of times Jim's back there doing that stuff, and you know there's still guys in the shop, but you know he's kind of the main one back there doing that. So we want to make sure that he's safe and doing his everyday duties and having stuff lifted up in there and being in and around and underneath him. So looking to replace that with a 15,000-pound lift, which would get us up above that capacity with some room to start.
Questions?
And Myers Brothers is located where?
I believe they're in Shawnee. They're local.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She said take it.
Consent.
She said consent. He said she, okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Action item number 3 is the resolution of support for the Brinshore development. And Laura's going to handle that.
Yes, so back in July of 2015, we did a third, I think it was our third amendment to the contract with Brinshore, extending that contract to allow them the opportunity to submit in the 2016 low-income housing tax credit cycle with the state. So we, as a part of that, we negotiated some additional earnest money that would be applied to the costs of demolition if the contract does not go through. We also opened up and were in a position to accept letters of interest from other interested parties, of which we got none during the time period that we were open and available.
But did we get some? I mean, we have had some.
We had one. We had one that came in after. We've had a couple of other people. I've been approached. I know both Debbie and Jennifer have talked to the owner of Pride Cleaners, who was interested in buying it to put a surface parking lot in, which would not conform with our form-based code requirements. I in fact just talked to another individual today who was inquiring about it. So we have some interest in it.
What was that guy that stood up at that meeting? What was his interest in it?
He had another housing project, Brian, as I recall. So he had it was not senior, but it was a small,
Was it
multi-family.
multi-family, was it?
No, it was not a subsidized housing project, no.
It was market rate.
Market rate apartments.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were at that point in time where, so by mid-November, we went exclusive again with Brinshore according to that contract amendment. Their tax credit application is due at the end of this month, and this will be our third go-around then. As part of that application packet, it requires a resolution of support and a variety of letters that accompany that application.
So do you have to send new letters in every time we go through this, or?
Yes, we have to send new letters, which is what you see here, the revisions that show the updates and the amendments to the project. You will note in the resolution, they did make some amendments in terms of changes to the parking and not having a rooftop garden but a private courtyard. And I think those were both changes that were presented when they walked us through kind of the last iteration of the project in July when we talked about this. So these are not things we haven't talked about. We just needed to amend the resolution to reflect those, and then we just changed the dates that extended that. You may recall they will go through the process, that we should know by May, excuse me, about whether or not they've been successful or have been awarded the housing tax credits. If they do not receive the housing tax credits, then we have the opportunity to cancel the contract, kind of move on down the road. And they do lose then a portion of their earnest deposit that we apply to the demolition costs.
And how much would that be?
I meant to look at that. I want to say we're at about $35,000 of the $88,000 total demolition costs. So.
And then we could revisit, do we keep a list of the people who were
We
interested?
did have a list of the people that were interested. And what I've done, and I know Brian has done as well, the people that have contacted us, we've directed them and kind of walked them through the form-based code and talk, because most people are approaching, or several people that I've talked to actually want it for surface parking. Between Panera and the Pride Cleaners is sort of reviving their location and probably bringing 30 to 50 employees back to make that a processing facility in the very near future. So we talked with Sub about parking requirements. There have been a whole lot of things that have been going on. So just trying to get, and in fact, we've been trying to kind of connect people in that area who are all interested, because as we've talked about in the past, trying to make something happen by assembling multiple parcels over there and looking at a bigger scale project would be something if Brinshore didn't go forward. So that's what this is. The other thing I will tell you, we didn't have the title work back yet, but if you envision this property and the little road that goes, it kind of curves around that side and then comes out in front of Don Cholito's. And all of that area had been part of a trust. The trust over the last several years has kind of parceled that off and sold things to Planet Sub, to the chiropractor's office. They had this last little piece of what used to be that road, and they contacted us at the last week of December and said, would you be willing to just accept it, city? Do you want this piece of ground? We'll just turn it over to you. And we said, absolutely.
Oh,
We'd
yeah.
like to have that because it helps create some better access to that parcel. I think the title work is going to come back clean, and then it will just, so we ordered a title report on it, and we will review that, but I would expect that we would see that dedication of that piece of property coming forward in February, so that will help.
Where is that small business, I can't remember the name of it right now.
Skag.
Where does their property end and the other one start? Or where, is there an easement between the two, or how does that?
There's a parcel map somewhere on my desk. All right. Or Glenn, can you print a parcel map of that? Do you know what we're talking about?
I'm not familiar, I'm sorry.
Skag's Lead, Don Cholito's, Neff
I can give you
building.
kind of the
Okay,
general.
yeah, if you can just go snag a parcel map, that would be great. So anyway, these are related to Brinshore. The resolution's included, and then the letters that reflect what we have submitted with their application packet in the past. And there weren't any changes to the letters other than the dates.
So the effective date of this is the end of the year, but if they get their rejection or whatever in May, does that automatically in the deal at that time?
Yes, you can, yes.
We
you
don't have to
can-
wait till the end of the year.
No, you don't have to wait till the end of the year. So the resolution goes through the end of the year because if they are awarded tax credits, you'll remember that they still have to come back and go through a TIF project plan process with you all. There's several other steps that have to happen before the project becomes fruition. And so they wouldn't actually close until December.
Right, but once they're,
If they get
They don't
rejected,
get
you
that
have an
till-
opportunity to cancel that prior to the end of the year.
okay.
Yeah, July 1st is the date, and that's only because by the time they get their formal notification and we get it scheduled on your agenda, it's gonna be June, we won't be able to make a May meeting date.
Okay.
And this particular TIF agreement is 20 years, is that correct?
Well,
If it goes through.
the TIF district is always established for 20 years, you haven't negotiated the terms of any of that, so none of that has been decided.
Okay.
I know this is off topic, Laura, but could you think of any options for Pride Cleaners? I mean, it's great that he wants to bring that many more employees to the city, but I'm looking at that area and thinking, where do they park?
I encouraged him and gave him some contact information for some other property owners in the area who seem to have lots, or maybe some excess parking. In particular, because as I talked with him, his employees are going to be in the facility overnight hours and off-peak hours.
Oh, okay. So that might be
I
a-
directed him to the post office and some other locations around there, which, I
Close.
don't know. I haven't heard back from him, but
Okay.
that's kind of the direction I sent him.
Thank you so much.
Okay, one question, the piece that was, for better, lack of a better phrase, gifted to the city, that does not expand their parcel, does it, that we have contemplated?
No,
Or
it
the-
does not.
okay.
Nope.
Any recommendations on this?
I recommend we take it.
Take it? Not consent, I don't want to talk about
I
that.
think you need to talk.
Yeah, I need to talk.
You need to talk.
God damn. All right, let's take a look at the only act item, discussion item listed here to say, communities for all ages, which we've talked about a few times with Emily. She's back to tell us about phase 6.
That's right. Ongoing efforts. So you're all familiar, we are still taking on the work of Communities for All Ages, and now we're kind of in the phase where we're trying to make it real. We've done a lot of assessment, a lot of planning, working with other communities and doing all of that. We're trying to just brainstorm ways internally, externally, on the website, in terms of communications, but also in our internal service work, to try to keep it top of mind and to try to start making some real impact. And so one of the things we've brainstormed is that when staff is preparing agenda items, if in addition to the background information and the other kind of detail that we usually provide, that we add to the template, similar to how budget impact is often listed on our agenda items, we put Communities for All Ages on the considerations or the kind of detail that we're considering as we prepare the agenda items for you for these meetings. There are several communities, around who do different things along these lines, but we thought that that would just be a really effective way to just really keep it on our minds and to make sure that as we're making decisions and planning things and just doing our regular service delivery, that we're keeping it in mind. So a couple of examples that we thought about, even just from tonight's agenda, something like the street ID signs would come to you not only with the budget impact, but also the kind of benefit. Why does this project, why does this action make our community more serviceable for more of our residents? And so it would be something like, easier to read signs, reflective, in line with current standards that have been, developed with those kinds of goals in mind. Another example we thought of was the park that is being built adjacent at Broadmoor and Martway. When we had those discussions and we were talking about the design plan, we talked about how the likely users of that amenity and tailoring the benches that we purchased for the site in a way that they could use the hand railings to stand up. Those kinds of considerations, we think if we just kind of add this to the agenda, as we're working through it, it just kind of hits the pause button, gives us all a chance to consider it slightly more broadly perhaps than we would have. Anyway, so that was what we were proposing. We you know, as you know, the Sustainability Commission is working through the checklist, kind of judging our work against some standards that are set up in that checklist. And these types of actions, finding ways to incorporate communities for all ages in the work that we do, is just points towards greater achievement in terms of that checklist. So it's really up to us now to take that content and take those ideas and to kind of mold them to what might suit mission. And this is one example of that. So
I don't know why we don't already have the gold.
I've been here so many times, you think you must have it by now.
Well, no, because we're doing, I mean, we're spending money and we're using effort, like you said, the
Yep.
things that we do translate into that. We just have to do the paperwork. But we're actually spending money on these things and encouraging
Oh, yeah.
these things. So to me, yes, we've already got the gold. It's just a matter of you doing the paperwork to show what you've done.
Yeah, no, that's true. And then a lot of the effort is also putting it into policy so that it's not dependent upon the person sitting in the chair, but it's the way that we formally do things. So a lot of times it's looking at that, not just kind of a, because we've had these conversations recently and it's on our minds, we made the right call, but that it's kind of ingrained and more formalized. And so a lot of times it's looking at our formal policies or you know, certain documents like this one, you know, where we add it to a template so that it's always there. So it's not just kind of, you know, ad hoc, but sort of really.
Yeah, and the one thing they said about the gold was the investment in the personal investment. Are they talking about, because we encourage community for all ages, and we have a wide base
Yeah.
for community for all ages, and ADA, we're incorporating blah, 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 blah. But, you know, when we have the responsibility to do something, yeah, it's city dollars. But
Yeah, well, no, and another aspect of it truly is a lot of partnerships and collaborations with other agencies. So if it's a health service related item, likely it would be the county that would be providing that, but we can.
Or personal, like what
Well,
was
absolutely, yeah, or
Brinshore.
on the private side as well, of course, and we can help sort of promote the available programs. So we do our piece in terms of just communication of resources that are available or options that people have. So,
Great,
yeah.
thank you.
So, who's going to be attending the summit?
That's a great question. So far, we have the Sustainability Commission plans to attend, and we have several of our department heads who will attend as staff representatives. I've extended the invitation to all of you, and then also the Planning Commission and the Parks and Recreation Commission. And I think it would be great to have some representatives from each group to kind of mix and mingle with the other cities that are there and kind of just see. And a lot of it will be bragging, honestly. I mean, we really do want to share what we're doing well and what we have in place and what we've already considered, and other communities hearing that and then sharing and passing along other ideas. So it will be nice, I think, to just sort of get energized and hear from other people, but also kind of really toot our own horns in that respect, and talk about what we're still working on and what we'd like to accomplish. So I'm hopeful for the evening.
It's a Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday, January 27th. And we're carpooling, the Sustainability Commission is carpooling from Mission, and we'd be happy. So if you're interested, just let me know, and I'll put you on the list, and it'd be great to have you there.
Do you have any council members still working with you on
No, we don't. So we've sort of transitioned from the focus or the task force that we had to the Sustainability Commission sort of taking it on for the checklist aspect. What I would like to see after the summit on January 27th is a follow-up meeting in Mission to say kind of a download of what we heard, and if that group has members from multiple bodies, it would be nice to keep them together to just see where that led. So maybe that you could have some communities for all ages work happening on the Parks and Recreation Commission at the same time as the Sustainability Commission was continuing their work, and it would all be top of mind for you all.
Do you know what time that is?
I'm pretty sure it starts at 6.
6 p.m.
Yes, I cannot remember if it's 6 or 6:30. I think 6. Okay, thanks, John. Yeah.
Any of you guys planning on going to that?
Okay,
Jennifer,
that'd be great.
Jennifer, what are you going to do?
I can try, that's my cup of tea,
I don't know, it's right up your alley.
right up my alley.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, cool. What else you need from us?
Nothing. I spoke the thumbs up. Just, I mean, we can start.
We'll try it if we don't like it, or if
Yeah.
there's things we need to add. And think about it too, though, if there are other things as we move forward, that we.
Sustainability, right, that should
Mhm.
be something, and then, I mean, I don't know, like Tree City, we try to get that. What are other designations that we try to get on a regular basis? So, and I'm just trying to understand the applicability of why we're doing it for this program, and for those same reasons of other programs that are like this, we should do the same thing.
We've had that thought too.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to consider it more globally, but, so yeah, we'll start, using it and see what happens.
Thank you.
Thumbs up.
Thanks.
Thank you. So just on this map,
Yeah.
this little yellow, light yellow curved piece right here is the one that's
Or 0 to 0.
0 T 0 A.
Otoa?
Otoa is the one that we will be considering, we believe on next month's agenda. So the triangle that goes out along that path and then Johnson Drive that squares off, that's kind of park right away that was deeded back to the city, so it's kind of green space. So although we doesn't accomplish a lot, but it's
Was
still.
Metcalf never there before?
This way.
Was Metcalf not there? Like, hey, here, we'll deed you a place right in the middle of Metcalf.
Right, a lot of good that is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they redid it on moves or something at some point.
So is someone signing that over to us, or how is that going to work legally?
Yes. The Barclay Trust would be signing or deeding that over to the city of Mission. And to Debbie's question, if the map is accurate, the parcel line, property line actually goes through a portion of the chiropractor's building and the Stag Fleet building. So I don't know if this is accurate or not. Could be.
Now, I've only got 2 or 3 items for the other I want to go over. Just kidding. Does anybody have anything on their other?
I did
Serious.
have one thing.
Yeah.
A constituent reached out to me and wanting to know if he was interested in running for city council, who he would file with, whether it would
I
be the
can
county.
answer
municipality,
that
I heard
question.
something about that tonight.
Yes. So, about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, so we're without an election commissioner currently in Johnson County.
Oh,
Where'd Brian Doobie go?
I don't know. Yes. So, even with the election law, it's even been a little bit more chaotic in Johnson County. But the 3 of us, Westwood, Prairie Village, and Mission, who've been working to move forward with April elections, have been communicating. Essentially, the election office turned around and said to us, your city attorney needs to make a decision for this year where you want people to file. So,
You're
they,
kidding.
no. So, we looked at the ordinance the way we wrote our ordinance, the charter ordinance, to make that transition, and it seemed to us to be fairly clear that our intent was to sort of leave the April 2016 process intact. So Dave Martin is writing a letter to the election office saying this is what our procedure is, and it will be, they will file here at City Hall with the city clerk for a $10 fee or by petition. We are still waiting on the number, if you are interested in filing by petition from the Election Commission, about what that number would be, but it's typically by ward 2 or 3 signatures. So as soon as we get that, we will put that, our intent is to put that full packet together and get that out. And the filing deadline will be January 26th.
But if somebody want to come tomorrow and pay
Pay $10, we
$10
have all
inside
of
a
the
piece of
forms.
paper.
I've got all the forms.
Yes.
Well, yes, we have all the forms ready. You're open for
They could pick
business.
them up tonight.
Could pick them up tonight.
Yes. So we apologize that we didn't know, it has been a bit of an interesting journey.
Well, the
this
only thing
year.
that's odd is that there's 2 people from Prairie Village or 3 that have filed, and so I don't know if they ignored the election office.
Well,
I don't know how they
Westwood,
know, there's no instructions that says work with your city on the website.
There's no what?
Westwood,
The instructions say work with your city, because we're a city of the second class or second
I
class.
think Prairie Village is filing at their city hall, but Westwood is.
sending people out to the county.
So the county
Encourage more participation.
website says your city has information.
Right. So, do you need $10 cash, or would you take a personal IOU?
Depends if you're doing
You
it.
can write a check.
No,
Cash
no
or check?
IOUs?
No
Yeah,
IOUs.
right, I owe you on a check, like I owe you,
Yes.
here's your check.
And you owe the Johnson County Election
And then you will forward all of those forms out.
Your IOU's made out too.
I think you should go like $10 in pennies.
Oh, yeah.
Martha would appreciate it.
Yeah.
If we don't get the election, the numbered by petition by tomorrow, we'll go ahead and get everything else posted on our website and just direct people back to us. Because
Well, wouldn't it be the same number they had last year and the year before?
it changes based on the most
I know.
recent. It's close, but
We can get one more.
Unofficial
Thanks.
Anybody else got anything? Well, I'll officially close this meeting and take a 45-minute break.
We'll see you later, Pat.
Laura, as of what date will the city get that easement?
well, whatever it will be on your February city council meeting. So it'll come to you, assuming there's no title work. Yep.
All right, we'll go ahead and,
Kick off the finance net.
I'm not gonna stop there.
Action item number 1, we've got 2016 legislative policy. Laura and
And I'm gonna let Glenn start this one, please.
Good evening. So,
Good evening.
Hello.
as you all just heard with the tale of our election law, what happens in the legislature every day kind of has a lot of effect on us as cities because we exist by virtue of the legislature. We're a governmental entity. What they do affects all of us in the state of Kansas, but especially cities. Each year, we put together a platform of kind of nonpartisan things we want to see happen in the legislature. We present it to our local legislators here in Northeast Johnson County. And these are all just positions that are advocating for home rule authority. Basically, the idea that you, as the city council, the city of Mission, should be able to do what you need to do to govern the city effectively, kind of not have your powers restrained by the legislature. And also just to advocate for kind of general quality of life stuff that makes things easier for our civil services, for us as a city, etc. So we have this proposed platform here for you to look over. Pretty much almost everything in this has been adopted by Johnson County and by our peer cities. We all kind of work together to develop a joint platform. Each of us adds a few things on the side, but just about everything here is supported by everyone in the county. Just want to present it to you, kind of get your blessing on it, and go from there. There's sort of a mishmash of things in here. If I was just to highlight a few things, most of these positions are basically advocating for the status quo, basically for the legislature to not take adverse action against cities. There's a few quality of life things in this one, such as moving our annual budget cycle a little later to better line up with some other things that have been imposed on us now. Looking for some new public safety powers, things like that. And then we've also talked, a big thing you're going to hear about, especially in the next few weeks, is kind of talking about the local government property tax lid passed in the state budget last year. Kind of the position coming out of Johnson County and our peer cities is to look to repeal that and to look to retain our home rule authority to kind of set taxes as we need to do without being tied to that election schedule and to the other list of things that comes along with that. Yeah, that's kind of the platform. I can answer any questions for you. But we would seek your blessing.
It was through this venue a few years ago that we had a say, in winter, the Kansas League, about the changing of dates and things of that nature that just was ignored, correct?
I wouldn't say ignored, I mean, just they didn't agree with what we said, right? I mean,
What-
Changing the dates for
elections, for
right.
partisanship.
Yeah,
in
so for the
elections.
last several legislative platforms, there has been a position taken on maintaining nonpartisan elections and allowing them to stay on the current cycles. So there were pieces of that that we
lost one.
yes, there were pieces of that we were successful in, and others that we weren't.
But it was through this.
Yes,
through this-
correct.
okay.
That's correct. And I don't think we took a position on property tax lid. You may recall that property tax lid was an 11th hour addition in the last session. And so if you went back to last year's legislative platform, that's not one where we sort of took a position because I don't think anybody anticipated until the end of the session.
Just a question on that third bullet regarding the annual budget to October 15th or later. What is the deadline? I mean, or later, how much later?
It would really be as much time as the county would be willing to give us. So what you want now is, so if they said October 30th, if they said November 1st, which they wouldn't, probably we would be thrilled. And I think if you really get into the detail, part of the suggestion is we would certify mill levies on the same cycle by August, but it would give us some additional time to kind of get the final budgets in line. I mean, as you know, one of our challenges now is we're budgeting so far ahead of the next fiscal year that there can be things that impact us economically, and and they don't need as much time to handwrite tax bills as they did back in whatever point this legislation was enacted. And there have been attempts. This is one that has kind of, I don't know that it will get much traction. It's time to just say it again and kind of keep it on the radar screen.
I think it's right on target.
All right, recommendation?
If you are not signed up, I think most of you, or many of you last year, or in previous years, have signed up for the legislative alerts that come out from the league. If you haven't done that, I would encourage you to go out on their website and sign up for those. They do updates and bulletins.
There's something going on tomorrow night too. If I'm not
Convener,
mistaken.
there's the convener's reception, yes.
And if you want to go to, please call City Hall Day at the Capitol. It's on the 27th. But just let us know, we can get you registered.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Action item number 2, resolution declaring surplus property to Brian Scott.
Okay, well, it's the beginning of the new year, and we're busy kind of cleaning out our supply rooms and,
Apparently the police department's really busy.
yeah, they've got a lot
Is
of
there
stuff.
anything left in the police department?
We were gonna run around with these old gas masks on up and down Johnson Drive, but
Fire sale.
That was kept in Ben's office about a month ago, and opened the closet door, and stuff was kind of fell out around me.
It's like if you can't wear it on your body, it's out.
Yeah, so yeah, there are a number of items from the police department. The ones been really busy. Some of the leather items and the clothing items, I think are going to be donated. Is that right,
No,
Chief?
Pat, you can't buy them.
there's two departments, one on the Missouri side that their officers can't even afford to buy vests,
Yeah.
and they have to pay for them themselves. And then the other one is Lewisburg Police Department, where
So you're
Captain Bauer
donating?
went. We are going to donate it.
Oh, awesome. But Lewisburg Police Department needs them.
They do.
And we kind of know the chief down there.
Oh, do you?
Tim Bauer, who used to be with us, retired. Remember Tim Bauer, who retired from us as the chief of Lewisburg last fall? Last summer fall. Yeah, I think it's been,
It was about 3 years ago.
no, Tim hasn't been there.
Oh, no, Tim's been there probably about 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Set.
Moving forward, number 3, ordinance amending municipal for fees.
Did someone
Yes.
recommend that?
And we can send, we're done. Jennifer.
Yeah, they moved on.
Yeah, we're
Good conversation. They're on the roll.
Didn't you give Brian a chance to get up?
No. We're down here.
I was getting ready to kick him off the chair, but
He
he
can
Okay, well, I wanna
stay,
sit
you might as well
down.
just stay, because when Martha's done, you're coming back.
This is a ordinance change. The Kansas Supreme Court can set the fee that is charged as part of our court costs that goes to training for municipal judges. Previously, it was at 50 cents. They've raised it to $1.
That's a,
We just raised that fee thing back in 1991. I don't know why you have to do it again.
Just a couple days ago.
The next is our annual resolution on the destruction of certain records. Those are set by state statute, and most things we keep for at least minimum of 3 years. Some are 5, some are 10. I think we're safe. If you look around, we don't jump the gun on any of it. I'll put it that way.
We got little boxes upstairs.
If you'd like, you can come back the day we clean it out and watch Martha and I hang on to the years that we aren't quite ready to turn
Oh, I'm
this in.
sure.
what do you call it? So you really have to get rid of it.
We do follow the record retention schedule that's put out by the State Historical Society in general on these.
We can take it to council consent.
Very good.
Yay. All right, that's all for the action items. And we've got discussion item review of part-time employee salary schedule. Ryan's not going to-
I'm back.
Let's come this way, so come on.
We're gonna make
Sit next to
room.
me, I will buy you a donut.
You take that chairman's done,
I might kick you. I don't know that
40
these
feet to
stars
put
are
it up
full
there.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah, not much better.
yeah. If I need an extra.
Okay, as promised last time, I met with you all, and we talked about classification and compensation plan for the upcoming year. We were working on reviewing lifeguard pay. And so Glen has done a lot of the heavy lifting. He's gone out and surveyed comparator cities in Johnson County and kind of put together this information that's in the report that we're providing you tonight. We looked at lifeguard pay for our comparator communities, Fairway, Johnson County Parks and Recreation District, Marion, Prairie Village, Olathe, Overland Park, and Shawnee. That's kind of the group that we find ourselves sort of competing against for lifeguards for the summer. So that was the group we looked at. And as you can see on page 2 of that report, we are pretty far behind the marketplace.
Yeah.
So our recommendation would be to raise the beginning rate to $8.75 per hour. And we'd like to do that like ASAP so we can start advertising, because this is the time of year when we start recruiting.
And I think we should take it and mention it, so that there's another advertisement right there,
Yeah.
not consent.
Yeah. So, and at the same time, we also looked at the community center employees and camp counselors. Camp counselors is kind of a unique group. We weren't really able to find too many other cities that have camp workers like ours, but they are kind of identical in terms of responsibilities and the role they play within the larger Parks and Recreation operations. So with that, we kind of developed a realignment, if you will, of a classification plan. And so you see that on page 3. So we looked at the daycare and the entry desk and facility staff, compared those against other communities that have community centers similar to ours, and we're pretty well aligned with that group. So we're not really recommending any changes there, but we are recommending some changes with the counselors to kind of make them more in line with those positions as well as with the lifeguards. So you'll see with like the camp counselors, forgive me what TNT stands for, is it?
Teen and tween.
Teen and tween, thank you.
Very catchy.
So if you do this range component, with a range, then if you want to go up, you don't come back to us for another recalculation, is that correct?
Well,
If it's within that, if they be approved within the range?
yeah, so the idea would be that we would be starting camp counselors, we hired $8, but we're thinking that we evaluate all the counselors at the end of the season, and we'd actually give them a merit increase that would be effective the following season when they come back. So it might be like, $8.30 or $8.15.
So that would
kind of based
promote
on
them wanting to
evaluation.
come back because they
Right.
was, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason for the range.
Okay.
So, and then the camp director we found was quite a bit behind the marketplace. That's actually the one position out of all these that requires a college degree. So we're primarily looking at teachers and maybe looking for a little extra work during the summer. So we bumped that up to 14.
Is that the only position here that requires a college degree?
Right.
That's by state statute.
Right.
For our program to be certified. We're certified through the state.
And
Or
then
licensed, or whatever it's called.
finally, we looked at court bailiffs as well. That's the only other part-time position we really have on a full-time regular basis in the city. And, yeah, we're kind of in the marketplace, a little bit on the low side. So our recommendation is to adjust it to $17.50 an hour. It'd be about a 3% increase to the 2016 personnel costs for Parks and Recreation Department.
So do we have the budget to handle that, or?
We probably have to make a budget amendment, but I'm guessing there'll probably be salary savings at the end. We'll kind of monitor that throughout the year, but I don't think we'll wind up exceeding your budget.
The court bailiff is under the police though, correct?
Right, yeah, and
So
again,
what's the
there's gonna be,
increase on that?
it'd be about 3%.
3% across the board?
Well, and actually not 3% across the board for the budget, because certainly the last, we only a few of them.
Okay.
It'd be probably about 3% of what we're making now. So.
The benchmarking we did is, those will all be for 2016.
Well, Glenn, I think you did a really good job.
Thanks, sir.
Assimilating all the data and stuff, made it real easy to look at it and see where we are, which would have been a lot of questions had we come in here without that, so, yeah, very good job on that.
And that fits in our budget?
Just to kind of put it in reference, you can see that here early on, it's a little bit higher, but when we do our annual financial forecast, we figure personnel costs are going to increase by 3 to 3.5%. This year, you're kind of just about hitting that in Parks and Recreation. Later on, if we start doing other changes that we looked at, you're still below that threshold. So that's kind of the point we aim for. Yeah.
Need for equity. That's nice to know too, that we were not all that low compared to everybody else, and most of us are. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. I think we ought to bring the girl down here because the came and spoke to the council when they voted on it that night.
The lifeguard? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they'll all be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. That'll be good.
While I'm here, we're starting our audit for the 2015 fiscal year. And so the auditors have been sending us information that they want us to kind of gather, send back to them. That goes to Suzie. They're asking for all of us, all of you, as well as the management team, is to complete this conflict of interest related party questionnaire.
You do it every year.
Yeah, we do it every year.
Did you guys find the paperwork that you needed?
Yes, we did.
Where
was it?
No, yeah.
Didn't get that.
Need you guys even ask?
I would ask you to decide, go back to me before you leave. I will be standing in the back of the room,
Just call me
patiently
first. Call me first. Oh, yeah.
And if
I told you I passed it down.
You did, you passed it right to me, and I took it right home. No, I haven't. Oh, yeah, no, I did it right off the bat. Just actually called Martha and let her know. Now, that was embarrassing. You'd think I could use the biscuit.
it should be no to all of those, yes.
Fran, may I use your?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
All right, while everybody's filling their
Do you want us to hand these back to you?
Put them in the
Yes,
envelope.
yeah, just hand it back to me.
Around.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're right.
I can do it.
Yes, we hope he enters.
That's what I do when I'm there.
Do you want to formally, usually sign this, like this?
However, you can sign the form and then it's fine.
That's all my employer. Suzie.
There you go.
Thank you, Jason.
6.
Thank you, Dave.
I have no idea.
Thank you, Joe.
Doesn't matter.
As long as I didn't go behind it.
I was thinking of 16, but I didn't call it saying 16.
Yes, oh, they,
Oh, you want to see it?
he can.
No, I
seal
just-
it.
You just got yours back.
Eventually, everything will be sealed.
Thank you.
If you want to look at it, risk of paper cut.
Thank you.
Well, here's,
I will promptly drop these in the mail, send them back to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Brian, thanks, man.
All right, last but not least, we've got amendments to ordinance regulating rivers, river allowed and.
So we've talked several points over the last couple of years. I think most recently when we were talking about chickens, about our regulations and requirements for third animals and special animal permit admissions. So right now, you are allowed admission up to 2 dogs and 2 cats, and if you have, you can't have any more than 2 cats. If you want to have a third dog, oh no, you can't have one additional dog, 1 additional cat. You would need to come down and fill out an application, pay $100 initially, $50 a year for a renewal, and then you would also have to, before we could issue the permit, you would have to have affirmative consent from all of your neighbors within 200 feet. So essentially it becomes up to your neighbors whether or not you get a third animal permit. So what we did is we took a little bit of time, and again, Glen was busy the last month getting ready for all these.
Fun week.
things. Yes. And tried to look at what some other communities do. As you can kind of see by this chart, the maximum number of animals that are allowed by right under ordinance in these cities. It's fairly consistent in most cases. It's 2 dogs, 2 cats. Olathe and Prairie Village are kind of the standouts there. Where you move over, do those cities require permits for additional animals? And with the exception of Prairie Village, everybody does require a permit for additional animals. One thing we did not include on here, but generally all the cities that do require that permit are also charging a fee, and the $100 initial application fee, I think it's either $100 or $50 in the ones that we surveyed, and then the renewal is $50 in most cases, or $15 in the case of Shawnee. Shawnee's fees are a little lower. Prairie Village doesn't allow you to have anything more. I mean, it's 4, and we don't talk
How
about
do you
it.
make the next ones 4?
Yes. And then you'll see, again, kind of the neighbor notification / consent. That's probably the column in which our ordinance stands out from all of the others in terms of many of the other communities do require notification, but they don't require the consent of the surrounding property owners. I think as we look at this, obviously interested in feedback. I can't tell you right now, we don't have a good handle on the number of third dogs that we have.
I was just gonna say.
How do you know?
And I think,
And cats.
and I'm not
can't
sure
work.
any city really does
No.
very well.
Are you gonna add chickens to this?
We've already got
Chickens,
that
we
spelled
already
out.
added that chicken permit for additional animals. So, I think if you were interested in making any changes, I think staff would probably recommend or support. I think the consent issue, and I think we talked about this with chickens, kind of puts it too much in the hands of the neighbors. I mean, if you want to allow it, let's issue that permit administratively. And then if you don't meet the conditions, it doesn't really matter
You
how
don't
many
charge
animals
any
you
fee,
have.
right?
We charge $100 for the initial application fee and $50 renewal
For
For
over the
the
2.
for over the 2. Yeah.
And do people actually come in and,
They have in the past, yes, but most people, I think, either they aren't aware of it or
right?
they just don't do it because they don't. I think most people in our case have probably avoided it as much because they would have to go get all of their neighbors to sign off on it as much as the fee. When we started looking at fees,
And how do you, you actually, on the notify, you just tell them they have to go notify on the consent, you made them go sign?
but we will kind of map and tell them who they would need to go get a signature from, and then we would verify that, what we've done in the past. Give them a form that they take.
No other city does that.
No other city requires the actual sign off or consent of the other, of the other
Has
community.
that been a problem?
There have been people whose neighbors have kept them from having, a third animal.
And just
Good reason.
How do they handle fostering? How do they see them do that?
That's
No, that's a
it
good
depends. It depends. I think what Glen's research found, at least initially, was that Roland Park and Overland Park are specific, at least in their ordinances, about fostering. And what it looks like is fostering is defined very clearly as you have that animal for 365 days or less. And at least in the case of Overland Park, you can have up to an additional 2 animals over those that you own personally. If you go beyond that, then you kick into, you could have more than that, but you then would be applying for the additional animal permit. So, like Overland Park, for example, has no real upper limit. They make it harder, once you get above 4 or 5, they make it harder for you to try to have more
Do we
animals.
have anything about fostering?
We don't have anything currently fostering. Roland Park's ordinance, actually, I was reading it just before the committee meeting started, and I'm confused by their ordinance about fostering. I think it's generally trying to say the same thing as Overland Parks, and that's 2 more than what you own personally. But Roland Parks actually says you count, Overland Park says you don't count the ones you own personally, Roland Park says you do count your personal animals. I think it's a misprint in their ordinance, to be perfectly honest.
They don't need a business permit, do they?
They need a foster, they
There's a
come in and they
special-
get a permit.
They charge
issued-
them?
Yes, they are charged a fee for the permit for fostering.
Has that been an issue
What
here?
is the fee used for? Like, why are they charging for
Maybe
fees?
the other
Is
day
it
we were-
for pet control?
Because we don't check, they don't, I'm guessing they don't go check at the end of the year. Do you have 4 dogs and you said you were gonna only have 3 and you fostered 1? Do they actually go check?
Well, I don't know, because we've never regulated fostering, and I don't know, I don't know about.
I'm just
the
curious
other
what the
states.
money goes.
I mean,
The
what,
question
we
was
can
money
do,
Has it been an issue? Has it?
Well,
I only know of one person,
yeah.
your friend.
Your
oh, has it
friend.
been
Our
an issue or has
friend.
it been a question? We've had the question
Both.
raised many times,
Around the table or from people who live in Mission?
both.
Okay. And so it's been an issue for people who live in Mission.
It's been an item of discussion.
Yes.
The issue is a big,
Yeah.
Issue for one
Does it
person.
need to
issue's
be?
a big term.
It is
One
an issue
person
for
that
a
I'm
long
aware of.
time.
Maybe
The
it's just
noise
been an issue
guy.
for
I know, that's the only person.
No, he
Has there
died.
been others?
Oh, did he have someone like?
I got another email just the other day about this. I thought she'd actually pick Laura.
So, the way it is right now in Mission, you can have 2 dogs, and,
2 cats.
2 cats.
yeah, but if you got 2 dogs and you wanted to foster another one,
Yes.
The answer's no, I guess.
The answer
have
is you
to
would
put
have to
in for
apply
the
for a
permit.
special animal permit.
right?
So we have to pay $100?
Yes,
Even though it was a foster?
yes.
We could just-
But if you only had 1 dog,
If
and you
give it
wanted to
back,
foster
you get the money
one,
back?
you can
No.
do it without anything, because you haven't met the maximum. Okay.
That's
fine.
kind of doing a community service,
Yeah.
and we're charging them for
Yeah,
it.
but you got somebody fostering 3 or 4 dogs in their house.
Well, but if we put some
It's their
regulation.
house.
Yeah.
You know, we don't
They're
have.
saving
I
an
carry it around the
animal from
backyard on
being
Martin,
euthanized.
too.
Yeah, they do get outside.
They do get
Well,
outside.
that's,
Sorry.
they don't all bark, right? So I have a
All of
neighbor
them,
who owns his own
except
dogs
the
that are
Basenjis
so
do,
bark.
yes, actually.
Well,
Not all of them bark. My neighbor next door dog does not bark at all. Behind me, they yap nonstop.
Oh,
The
yeah.
guy behind you probably has his dog.
So you
yeah.
could create any version of fostering, if you wanted to allow for fostering, I mean, if you wanted to keep maximum number of animals by right the same, and you wanted to allow for fostering, you could do that. If you wanted to either do that with, you could do that with a permit, fee or no fee associated.
We're in line with the maximum numbers with the other cities right now.
Right.
And I don't see any reason to make an exception for fostering. I think it's a good idea to foster dogs, but if you already have 2 of your own, you probably don't need to be fostering dogs anyway. You can foster a couple, that's what you do have.
Well, that's probably
But
the
I,
biggest question.
but I think we're probably being a little, I mean, if you are, and I'm an animal owner, so I'm gonna say,
I know.
if you wanna foster more dogs than what can have in your allowance, then I don't see the reason why we shouldn't allow someone to do that. I guess that's my point.
No, I agree.
It's not an exception, it's an addition, because we don't even have a clause that
As
even
long
allows.
as you get the permit, is that what you're saying?
No, we shouldn't. $100 for a dog you're gonna foster to save them for a period of time, I think that's a little excessive.
I agree.
If it's their dog, and they're gonna go above the limit, and you wanna pay for that, that's a different discussion. But fostering, I think it's all right.
Oh, that's not my dog.
And that's the question, do you want,
It
I
kinda
agree.
goes along with our breed, remember, on the, it's the individual that's the problem, and the fosterings is.
And I don't know how we
service,
enforce it,
I
that's
think.
another, and it's a good question, how do you figure it out? Because to your point, okay, so I'm fostering this dog, and no one's
Foster him
been,
for 5 years, because
Right.
he's 10 years old and nobody's adopting him.
Correct.
but I don't know that we shouldn't have something about it in an ordinance to answer the question that has been raised by an individual.
Yeah, so what are you recommending is what I'm saying.
Trying to draft up an ordinance around fostering that would make some sense.
okay, we can do that. I think I would
Could you give me a
use,
little verbiage on that?
yes,
Hurry,
let me.
I don't.
No.
I'll work through it, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll send you, I think Overland Parks is a good start on fostering.
And they put a limit on total dogs.
So, animal foster home permits shall allow permittees to provide foster care for up to 2 foster animals in addition to any personally owned animals.
What do they charge for?
They charge, it was lower. I want to say the fostering fee was 15, it was not $100, it was a lower fostering fee. So let me pull together some of that. The question I would ask is, we, other than Prairie Village, we have the lowest limit on total number of animals allowed. So although they are gonna scrutinize it really carefully, so some of these other cities, there is no, I mean, you have to pay the permit fee for additional animals, but you could license, if assuming the city would approve it, you could have your 4 and you could make application for 5 special animal permits on top of that, or however many more. So ours, you're only going 1, so you would have a total of 6 if you had a additional animal permit approved for a dog and a cat, for example. And you couldn't have it approved for 2 dogs. It's 1 additional dog, 1 additional cat, the way our ordinance is written. So that would be one of my central questions. Do you want a combination of animals similar to maybe what Olathe and Prairie Village is doing? Do you want any
I think
flexibility?
Prairie Village is crazy.
Okay.
4 combined, but no more than 3 dogs or 3 cats. Like, seriously. It's probably been around for a while. They probably could change that. That 4th cat.
Have we had any complaints? I mean, well, then why are we?
Yeah,
I think the maximum number is fine.
Yeah, I think that if
Yeah, I think that's
if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Okay, so you want to, you don't want consent of the neighbors, I think I heard. Do you want neighbors to be notified, or do you just want the permit to be on file, and then we deal with it on a complaint basis?
No, is there something we can, as a refresher to put in the magazine or something, and just a reminder, you may want to talk with your neighbor, but, making it, that's kind of over-regulatory.
Yeah, I don't think making them notified, what are they
If there's
gonna
a
do?
problem, the police will come knocking on your door.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're really bad.
Our animal control guy's really good.
And girl.
Okay.
I really don't like lady.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you.
And then, okay, so no, you're fine with the maximum number, no consent or notification is mandatory, and we want to look at something which would allow for fostering with a reasonable fee.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm actually okay with a low fee. I mean, that
Sure,
road should
if
go
they're
in,
committed to
so at
fostering.
least
Well, it
we
helps
understand,
them.
we understand who has them.
Yeah.
And then if someone comes to them, there's a complaint, at least we have some documentation, they paid $10, they are fostering.
And if you're gonna foster a dog, you have to have a little money. They're expensive.
Right.
They're caring for them, they're feeding them. You just can't have somebody who's just flat broke fostering a dog
Right.
and caring for it.
So we gotta have a number.
Well, yeah, it's not
I
like,
don't wanna go
my
wild.
mom does, and
It's not like
she's
a
got
foster
a
child.
So do you want to
Well,
go?
no, dogs.
Yeah, I get the check.
Try to get the check to stay in the foster.
Dogs, you got fosters.
Yeah.
Just that.
You got 4 in your house, that's a lot of,
You got 4 on the backyard, that's big.
there's a lot of things you're picking
Some people
up.
are just dog lovers
Yeah.
And cat lovers.
and cat lovers.
There's hoarders, pet hoarders.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't have any other animals, we have rabbits or
Yep,
ducks.
ducks are not allowed.
No
No
rabbits,
fowl,
bees,
no
and-
fowl other than
Chicken
chicken.
owls.
By the way, is he gonna fight for the beekeeper?
Falcon?
We've had some questions, but I don't think it's actually
And nobody is formally applied for chickens either.
No more
Even my house
right?
neighbors didn't do that?
No rags on birds.
They moved.
No, they're still in mission.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm
Maybe
gonna
they're
next
waiting
time.
until spring.
They probably are, yeah, because they just moved in their new house.
Okay.
Oh, I know, I can't wait to
Put the
walk. I'm
chickens in.
gonna let Kiwi loose in their
Fresh
backyard.
eggs.
I'm gonna let her run around.
No more emu either, right?
Buddy is.
Buddy is bit the dust.
No, I don't think we have horses anymore either.
I don't think I would know horses.
Gators.
I wasn't smelling that one.
Well, the emu is kind of educational for kids. That was great.
Yeah, so I think.
Okay, are we good?
They good.
Did you
I know
have,
that.
I had election stuff, but we covered that already, so. All right, we're good.
Last thing, is there any, where will the city council meeting be on the 20th? Will it be here?
Yes, unless you think that
Well, I
there,
don't know, I'm just not sure what you're hearing.
I haven't heard a lot, so we can certainly move it if you'd like.
Think we need to?
I have no idea.
Okay. I'll kind of keep my ear to the ground on that, and if we need to reschedule that move to the community center, we can do that. We'll make that decision next week. That will be it.
We didn't have a large
Are we
crowd
having any
last
other
time.
special meeting between now and then?
No, we will not have a special meeting between now and then.
Interesting.
All right, if that's it, we'll wrap this up.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Very nice.
Hey, what's up with the quick trip coming down to Disney, you know?
So,
Really?
let's see, two things, one I can remember. Over, the outlet area.
Was it in the,
I'm so sorry.
Why did I just drive in the other morning and I pulled in?
One of you.
They are upgrading their facility.
The, I've had two residents talk to me about, young guys in speeding cars and speeding around there.
It'll be open at 8:00.
So they, is it still going on?
Usually what'll happen is if we call and we get a complaint, we'll be in that area for about a week, and then we move on to the next one. So if we were up there and if it's a problem again, because usually what happens is we go, we deal with it, and then we move on to the next one a few days later, and then they do good for a while, and then it starts up again. So yeah, if it's starting up again, tell them to call me, and they can ask for me or Tony. Either one of us can be an officer, and let's go set up there.
What the other thing was, something somebody else had asked me about. I said, I will talk to the chief. It was just in the last day or two, so I said, I'll be at a meeting Wednesday.
I didn't hit the button.
Am I still on there?
Yeah, I don't know how to hit the button. I don't know which one.
She wanted to make.
Delete that.
And then she brought in this little stick in the ground, solar power, like an escaping light that she wanted us to buy. Extremely powerful lights. She does well.
I do.
Nobody's
Takes like 12 months and probably pick them up on the reverse.